Dr. Tony D. Collins is here to encourage, motivate, inspire, guide you into excellence. Your success matters. Your dreams matter. Sign up right now with Shepherd One Coaching and become a better you. Dr. Tony D. Collins is here to encourage, motivate, inspire, guide you into excellence. Your success matters. Your dreams matter. Sign up right now with Shepherd One Coaching and become a better you. Dr. Tony D. Collins is here to encourage, motivate, inspire, guide you into excellence. Your success matters. Your dreams matter. Sign up right now with Shepherd One Coaching and become a better you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I see quite a few of you all are on here already, but most of you haven't checked in. Most of you haven't sent me a greeting in the comment. Y'all know how we do when we come on here. First thing I want you to do is send me a greeting in the comment. Let me know that you are with me. Some of you might be on here thinking that this is going to be a late edition of TNT Bible Study. Well, no, it's not. There's not going to be a TNT Bible study tonight. You should have gotten the text message earlier, either yesterday or earlier today, not long ago, that TNT Bible study will not be taking place tonight. We're all for the holiday, but you all know me. I'm on this 30-day challenge to come on and go live every day, every evening for 30 days. And I think this is the last week we're going to be doing this every evening, but we are going to go to a regular schedule. Those of you that are joining us for the very first time, this is Mocha Moments. And those that are popping in, unless something is happening on my end where the comments aren't coming in, which would be tragic. But I see there's quite a few of you all on here, and I've only gotten greetings from Vera, Toya, Denise, and Tisha. Now, again, there might be something going wrong on my end. I hope that's really not the case, but oh, there we go. I just refreshed it, and you all are there. Y'all are in here. Good evening to every last one of you, Lenny and Angie and Ann and Dr. Pat and Tracy and Ted Kazam and Jackie and Vonda and Cassandra and Antoine and Kathy and Joyce. All right, we was having a few technical difficulties on my end, but so delighted you all joined us on this evening. And because you all came in and connected on so early, I can get started right away with what I want to talk about tonight. Good evening, Shell and Brittany. God bless all of you. That's right, Tisha. When all else fails, you got to refresh. And that's what I did. I refreshed and everything started popping up just as I needed it to, because I was going to be pretty upset if I weren't able to get you all's comments tonight. We've been having such a great time over these past few days. These past few Mocha Moments have just been absolutely exhilarating for me, and I'm expecting nothing less than tonight. I know you all are ready for a great discussion, and I'm certainly ready for a good discussion tonight. Let me say real quickly, for those of you that may be joining us for the very first time and you're wondering what this Mocha Moments platform is really all about, I'm your host, Dr. Tony D. Cobbins. I am a life coach. I'm a consultant. I'm a trainer. That's the mode that I'm operating in on this platform. I know some of you know me as a pastor and preacher and teacher and all of that, but this is not necessarily a preaching platform, although I share a great deal of wisdom from biblical principles, because that's the way in which I live my life. And I just try to share things with other people that I believe is going to be a blessing to them. Here on Mocha Moments, you all see those that have the hashtag Mocha Crew. The reason why they've got that thrown up is because they've committed to being a part of our Mocha Crew community. And what do we do in the Mocha Crew? We just believe in sharing blessings with other people and adding value to the lives of others in whatever way that we possibly can. And I'm telling you, I say all the time, it can be done through the simplest of gestures, so long as they're kind gestures, so long as they're compassionate and meaningful gestures that will be of help to someone. That's what we do here through the Mocha Crew. Let me pause for the calls and say good evening to the lady, the love of my life, Lady Ann. She's always with us each and every night. Of course, she's a part of the Mocha Crew as well. Darlene, thank you for dropping in on us tonight as well. Let's get right to the discussion at hand, because I'm anxious to see how you all are going to respond. Right before we get into that, be sure to share this link with someone else and invite them to be a part of this Mocha Moment tonight. And if you can, and if you will, share it with as many men as you possibly can, because I'd like to see some more men pop up on Mocha Moments. I need to hear some more input from other men on this platform, because what we're going to discuss tonight I think the men need to hear it, and they also need to have input so we can know just how men think nowadays with regards to the subject matter that we're going to be discussing on tonight. So, again, y'all know I like to always start with a question. At least that's the way I've been operating here lately. And we're going to start that way tonight. And the question tonight is etiquette and good manners a thing of the past? Are those things of the past? Etiquette, is there still such a thing? Good manners, do they still matter? You know, let's talk about etiquette. Number one, etiquette is defined as the conduct or procedure required by good breeding or prescribed by authority to be observed in social or official life. Etiquette governs how we conduct ourselves, the things that we do, the things that we will not do, the things that we have deemed to be proper and in order when in a given setting or at any given time. Toya, right off the bat, says it sure seems like it, but me and mine will keep it alive. Yeah, it seems like it is a thing of the past with a lot of people, but I'm glad you're committed to that. Let me also ask you all to do this. When you make your responses, because I get them at such a delayed rate, if you can kind of give me a hint exactly as to what you're referring to when you make your comment. I know that might take a little bit more typing, but that'll help me out so I'll understand your comment and know how to frame it or frame my response if I so choose to give a response to your comment. Vonda says that etiquette and good manners, they still matter. Tisha says they've gone out the door for most of society. Tara Kazam said it feels like it sometimes, but I teach my girls good etiquette and good manners to be respectful. Tracy says, not if you was raised in my era. And I don't want to be nosy and ask an improper question because back in the day. It was improper for a man in particular to ask a woman her age. And so if you can just tell me what generation that you're a part of, are you a baby boomer? Are you Gen X? Or, if you don't want to tell your age now, if you don't mind telling your age, that would be totally up to you. But, it would be interesting to know what generation that you were raised up in or that you come through. Tisha says, we still teach etiquette and chivalry at the Hillman House. I'm so glad you mentioned that because that was one of the things that I was actually going to raise tonight as well. This whole issue about chivalry. I would be surprised if most young men even know what chivalry is. Toya says, always refreshing to receive good manners and etiquette from others, especially younger people. Denise says, manners still matter to me. It does not cost a thing to be respectful. This is good stuff. We always get compliments on how mannerable the boys are. That's wonderful. That says you're doing a good job. Ann says, very much for me. I was raised that way and tried to teach my children to say the same. Toya says, I'm an 80s baby. Toya, you are an 80s baby with a very mature way of thinking, I might add. Because I will say, and I've said this before, I'm amazed at some of the comments that you make for you to be as young as you are. But I'm delighted and appreciative of the insight that you share with us. Again, I talk all the time about how we share insight with one another that enhances us, that's a blessing to us, and you do that often with your comments. So kudos to you for that. And I want to say kudos to your mom as well, because she had to have a hand in that as well. Dr. Pat says they still exist. However, I do not see them practiced as often. Man, I wish I could put a pause right here and we could lay in on that Because yes, we know that there are a lot of people that still believe in practicing good etiquette and showing and practicing good manners, but we don't see it as often as we should see it. Kathy says, I'm 55, soon to be 56. Okay, so you come up in that generation wherein etiquette and good manners were still a thing that was emphasized by parents when they were raising their children. Vonda, Gen X, 2 years from baby boomers. So you're still right there within um, uh, within the parameters, if you will, of being raised. You're close enough in that era where you were raised to have good manners and uh, um, exercise good etiquette. You know, every now and then I get stuck or have a brain freeze and I can't quite pop out the words that I want to pop out. Tracy says I was born in 1969. And all right. So again, now let me say this. Because I talked about the different generations, but there are some that were raised Gen X's and millennials and all of that, that had parents that still believed in teaching their children etiquette and good manners. Um, I think one of the reasons why we lost that whole thing with regards to etiquette and good manners is because we've allowed children to grow up much too fast. We've allowed them to become equals to adults almost right from the start. And that has not been good. Kathy said, I taught the boys how to be respectful. It starts at home. Society has taught otherwise. One other thing I would ask you all to do so that I don't run all y'all stuff together. If you use a little punctuation for me, give me a period when I need to stop because I'll run y'all stuff together. And I don't want it to sit here and sound crazy for any of y'all, but I don't want to mess up your comments either. Toya, Dr. Pat, that means a lot. Thank you. Okay, y'all are conversing with one another. Tara Kazam, I think it's important to teach any kids that we come in contact with good etiquette and manners. Help it to survive the generation. That's a very good point. We always talk about how it takes a village to raise a child. And so what that basically suggests is that it takes all of us working together to help each of us and each of our children to come up and be raised in a manner that will prove only to be productive, not only for the child or the individual, but for society as well. If I was to throw in my opinion, I would say our society is pretty messed up. It's the way it is because we no longer emphasize manners and respect. You know, children nowadays are allowed to say whatever they want to say to whom they ever they want to say it to, whatever way they want to say it. We weren't allowed to do that kind of thing at all. One of the things that now, I know I'm going to really sound old fashioned right here, but it's the era I was raised in. It is what it is, but it's something that I think is so important that we've let it go. And the thing that I'm talking about is when I was coming up as a child, I was never allowed to address an adult by their first name. We had to put a handle on it, as they say. You know, you were Mr. or Mrs., whatever your last name was. And even if the adult insisted on us calling her by her first name, we still had to call her Ms. whatever her first name was. Nowadays, kids just walk up to adults. They have no relationship with them. They barely even know them, and they feel like that they have a right to call that adult by their first name. And to me, it just feels so disrespectful. Now that's for me. I don't know how some of the rest of you feel, but to me that it just doesn't set well with me. One of the things that I truly feel I feel like children should never be placed as equals when engaging with adults. Just like you don't expect the adult to act like a child, neither should you expect the child to act like an adult. That's the problem. There are many lives that have been messed up. They are messed up to this day because too many adults have been robbed of their childhood. They were given responsibility like adults. They were talked to as though they were adults. They were treated like they were adults, and they were 8, 9, and 10 years old. Children need to have the space and the time to be children. They're going to get to be adults soon enough. But while they're children, they should have the opportunity to enjoy their childhood. But in enjoying their childhood, they should also be taught that there are boundaries that they are not to cross. There are certain things, certain rules, regulations that they should have to adhere to. And there are certain types of etiquette that they should observe and engage and implement in their lives, and certain manners that they should display and demonstrate at all times. I know that to some people, this is really going to sound old-fashioned and even crazy, but it's sad that we no longer think it's necessary to train our children. I've heard people say things like, well, you train dogs and not children. No, you train children as well. You know, sometimes you have to train adults. And I'm not saying in the sense of knowing how to act in life, but if they're that immature person and they need a little bit more training in the area of etiquette and good manners, then hey, so be it. But you go to a new job, and first thing that you have to get is training. You have to get training. Training is in order. We act as though nowadays that if we suggest any type of training, it's an insult to the individual that needs to be trained. And that's not the case. I mean, we've got to stop looking at it as a bad thing when we do our jobs as parents and adults and insist on our children acting and conducting themselves in a certain way. Now, I know here's where the catch may be. It's hard to train a child to do the right thing if the adult is not doing the right thing themselves. It becomes very, very difficult to train a child to do the right thing when the adult is not doing the right thing themselves. On the other night, someone mentioned in the comment that children are like sponges. They'll soak up whatever we dish out. And then at the time least expected and at the most inappropriate time, they will then drain themselves or dump out whatever they have soaked up. And they'll wind up embarrassing their parents and their families. But that's not the fault of the child. The child is not mature enough to know how to exercise discretion. They only know how to repeat what they've heard and to do what they've seen others do. Okay. So again, let's get back to this manners thing, and I may have gotten off on a tangent, but y'all, we'll bring it back in a minute. Tisha says manners. I get annoyed. No one says excuse me anymore. Don't hold doors, and if the door is held for them, they will not say thank you. Okay, you're stepping right into the thick of what I wanted to talk about tonight as well, because all of this kind of thing seems to have gone away. Is it no longer a thing? Is it no longer appropriate for us to expect for people to say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me? People act like that it pains them uh, to be courteous in that manner. But then one of the reasons why people don't say thank you and excuse me and all of that is because for some reason or another, many of us walk around with this sense of entitlement as though people owe us something. Listen, no one owes you a thing, not just you in particular. No one owes you a thing, especially a total stranger. They don't owe you anything. And we shouldn't act as though that we are entitled to the things that we desire, but many people do. Um, Toya says, Tisha, she's referring to Tisha's comment here, especially in the drive-through. People won't even respond to thank you, just ignore you and stare. That's true. That's true. Some people are confused between respect and entitlement. You're right again. Very, very confused. And I like Tisha. I get annoyed with people like that, but I'm glad I'm mature enough not to respond to other individuals according to the way they treat me. I hope y'all understand where I'm coming from there. It's not that I don't want to respond, but I'd rather not say anything than to respond in a way that causes me to have to descend to their level and be just as, for lack of a better term, I can't think of anything better right now, but to be just as ignorant as they are. Okay. Tisha, once again, Toya, I go through checkouts and I'm like, hello, cashier. And some of them, won't say anything. You know what I would love to do? I would love to send everyone that I can through the Chick-fil-A School of Etiquette and Manners. Man, if you ever want to have a wonderful customer service experience, even if you don't like Chick-fil-A, go there and buy you a drink that you like from Chick-fil-A, and I guarantee you're going to get the most courteous, good manner exchange or experience that you can ever imagine to have in your life. Chick-fil-A has done a marvelous job with making sure that their employees are polite, accommodating, and all this. Now that I've said all that, one of you find a Chick-fil-A and find that one somebody on the employee team that will not demonstrate the Chick-fil-A way when it comes to good manners and being courteous. I know I'm not the only one that has had good experience at Chick-fil-A. I'll get back to that in a minute. Let me hit a couple of more of your comments. Player hater. Chivalry is on life support for coming generations. Fewer two-parent households, single female head of households, and women's liberation movement. I don't mean this is all women's fault. No, it's not all their fault. But that kind of ran through my mind as well, because some women, uh, they don't appreciate the chivalry thing. I don't need you to open my door for me. I don't need you to let me go. I can take care of myself and everything. And then it's not a matter of need, but it's just a matter of a man trying to show respect to a woman and trying to be as accommodating as he possibly can be. I think not only should we teach our young men the practice of chivalry and how to be gentlemen, but I think young ladies need to be taught how to receive it and appreciate it when that kind of act is shown toward them. Lenny says it's always in order, maybe not in style today. I show respect and etiquette to all generations and await respect in kind. My grandchildren always greet me and others with at least greet me and others with, I guess you were meaning put me there, at least in my presence. Well, that's a good thing that they do it in your presence. And hopefully if they are doing it enough in your presence, they'll do it while you are absent. I wish I could hear from some more of the men. James Calhoun, what's up? What's up, cousin? Um, if you would elaborate on some of these comments with regards to chivalry and etiquette and good manners, you as a man, and I know you were raised to show all of that. I know you are a gentleman. I know you got to be since you were raised by a gentleman. And then, if my memory serves me right, you did a stint in the military as well, didn't you, sir? Go ahead and throw up another comment. Just give me a little bit more insight from a man's perspective. I need to hear from some men tonight on this topic. Terry Kazan said, yes, I have stopped my kids mid-sentence when they tried to call an adult by their first name. Better put Mr. or Miss in front of that. That's a wonderful practice. I think it still needs to be practiced. Some people will say, well, that's harsh. That's cruel. That's unnecessary. And for those that think like that, and it seems like a lot of our society think like that, maybe they should stop and take a look at how our children are turning out nowadays, how they don't have respect for other people, how they tend to be, not all of them, please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all of them, but there are a lot more than I've been used to seeing who tend not to have respect for their elders or for adult people. Denise says, we were not allowed in the room with the adults. My mom, Vivian, would make us leave the room. My parents would make us leave the room as well. You were not allowed to be in grown folk conversation. That's how they put it. Not allowed to be in grown folk business. And if you came into the room and you were needing to ask your parents something or tell them something that was very important, you better preface your statement with excuse me, and you probably better wait until there's a pause in the conversation and that you're acknowledged before you go running off at the mouth. Nowadays, kids can come in the room and get all in the adult conversation and have commentary about something they don't know anything about. I think it's okay every now and then, even in this day, to instruct children, hey, you need to get somewhere and sit down and be quiet. Not now. This is not a conversation for you. This is adult conversation. Go to your room, go outside to play, whichever one is most convenient. Am I all right with this? Player hater. Women can't have all the pressure without men, though. That is what we see. in society. I agree. Okay. Uh, we want to be our kids' friends and not their parents. I say that all the time. Totally agree. Uh, Toya, my parents would also always say, you better stay in a child's place. Nowadays, people think that if you say that kind of stuff to your children, you're talking too harsh to them. Vera says, yes, even our older cousins, we could not call them by their first name. That was the case with us as well. We had to put a handle on it, depending on how much older they were than ourselves. Okay. Tracy said, that's how I raised my kids and grandkids, Mr. and Mrs. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, no, ma'am. All that. Got it. But I'll tell you again, um, there are some of us, especially African American people, that feel like it's disrespectful to have their children to address adults like that. That is that slavery type thing. Why everything got to be connected to slavery? That's just good etiquette. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. I have referred to people much younger than myself. If I don't know them personally and I'm doing any kind of business with them or any interaction and they ask me a question or whatever, I'll say, yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And I've had some of them say, oh, don't say that to me. I'm not that old. And I explain to them, it's not a matter of your age. It's a matter of me respecting you as a lady, as a person, as a woman. It's a term of respect that has absolutely nothing to do with age. Tara Kazam says we weren't allowed in spaces with adults when we were kids. All right. Tisha, calling adults by their first name. Same here. I didn't do that. Dr. Pat says she agrees with Kathy and Tara Kazam. Good manners and etiquette should be taught at home. Yes, we must indeed pass it throughout generations. Well stated. Thank both of you. I'm still waiting for some men to pop up in here. Where the men at? Y'all, somebody y'all text the men and say, hey, get on this conversation. We need to hear from some men. Toya says amen to that. Not every adult walking around here grew up. They just got older and missed too many milestones in maturity. Oh, there you go again, Toya. I told you you're old. You're old soul. That's good stuff, though. You're right. They didn't grow up. They just got older. Darlene says some kids are being trained to do the wrong things from their parents. I'll say amen to that. Vera, when my parents had company, we were not allowed in the room with them. Player hater. In the last 30 years, we have blended generations. For example, uncles, aunts, and older cousins that are closer in age to kids. They hang out with each other and are easily influenced. That is true as well. And so again, the older ones are responsible for positively influencing the younger ones, but it doesn't happen enough nowadays. A lot of times the older generation, they're so busy trying to hold on to their youth. Okay. They're trying to act as though that they have not aged at all, and they have. And they find themselves, instead of setting an example for the younger generation, they fall in line with the younger generation, trying to be cool, but then wind up just acting a fool. Okay. Kathy says this generation is off the chain. Some do not have self-respect for themselves. Some feel like some are owed something. Absolutely right. The question is, what are they owed? I wish somebody would tell me what anybody owes anybody. Kathy, you are right on point. I think Darlene agrees with you when she says Absolutely. Children are the great imitators. They will imitate whatever they see. Joyce says you can't expect people to say thank you when they can't even say hello. Oh my gosh. Joyce, drop the mic. You can drop, that's a mic dropper right there. Now, I hadn't thought about that, but that is so true. You can't expect people to say thank you when they can't even say hello. You know, we have a neighbor that lives on our block, and I'm just gonna say it because it is what it is. She's a white woman, and we've been living here going on 20 years, and I think they moved in shortly after we moved in. And this lady, oh, the only thing that I can conclude is that she must either hate people in general or she certainly hates black people. That's all I can say. This has got to be the case because she will not speak. She will not wave. Matter of fact, sometimes if she sees us coming, she will turn her back purposely. And there was a time wherein her kid, her son, was getting on the same bus with our granddaughter. And if Lady Ann or myself when we would walk our granddaughter or take her to the bus stop and stand out there with our granddaughter, that woman wouldn't even speak, although we were right there in close proximity. I mean, and she's been like the only person on the block who has never waved at us or spoken to us. And so definitely can't expect someone like that to say please and thank you, especially since the problem may be that we're just not the right color. Okay. Tisha is back to manners. She said, I'm at Walmart looking at something in an aisle. They walk right in front of me. Don't say excuse me, cat, dog, or nothing. Irks my soul. Oh my goodness. Woo! Tisha, me and First Lady, we have this conversation all the time. And sometimes we be in places like that and people just step in front of us, act as though we're invisible or not there at all. And we just look at each other. And I think the only reason why we don't respond adversely is because we both know Jesus. We love Jesus. And we're not trying to stir something in public. Years ago, I had an incident where my wife and I, we had taken Taylor to Branson for a nice little fun getaway. I think we were taking her to Silver Dollar City and all that kind of stuff. But we were at a restaurant and we were standing there waiting in line to pay our check. There were two customers in front of us. We were the third customer waiting in line to pay our check. And an old white guy, he walked up and he stepped in front of us. And this is a single file line. He came from the back of the line, stepped in front of us. He wasn't with anybody else. He wasn't with any other group in front of us. He just stepped in front of us and laid his check on the table, on the counter. And I turned my head sideways, and the lady at the counter, she caught my eye, and she did like this. She shook her head slightly, like, "Please don't say anything. Please don't say anything." I mean, he was an old dude. I know he had to be at least 80-something years old. But he acted like me and my family were invisible, and he stepped in front of us, and I didn't say anything. I held my tongue. But when I got to the cashier, I said to her, I said, he did that to the right person. I said, because if I weren't who I am, then that could have gotten very ugly, because what he just did was very rude and disrespectful. You know, and y'all, I promise y'all, I had to hold my peace the Holy Spirit had to mortify my flesh, having me to hold my peace. Because one of the problems that I had is that my granddaughter was standing slightly in front of us, because I keep the women in front of me. And when he stepped in front, he really invaded her space, all up on her, all in her face, and protective pawpaw wanted to come out really, really bad. And I kind of had to kind of hold back Nana too. But it was a horrible experience, because sometimes certain people of certain color feel as though that they are entitled to be able to do these things, and you not have any kind of response. I had another situation where I was at one of these car washes, and you know how they have the double lane and you alternate cars coming in. You alternate, as you're coming in. So the car in the other lane, I was sitting in the left-hand lane, the car in the right lane, they went ahead and went before me, and I let them go like they're supposed to. But then the car right behind him, when I was getting ready to pull up, he put his bumper up between my car and the other car to bogart his way in. And when he got into where he had to get out the car and go inside and finish the transaction and let his car run on through, because it was a full service car wash, I got in next. I got out of my car, and I did walk to him and say, "You did that to the right person." Again, using the same words. You did that to the right person. I said, because what you did was rude and out of order. I said, I was the next car in line, and the way you put your bumper between the car ahead and my bumper, I said that was rude and out of order. You shouldn't have done that. And I said, if I wasn't who I am, you would have had a big trouble. At first, he thought he was going to puff up, but I think he kind of looked at my size and said, well, maybe I better not mess with this one. I'm just telling y'all the truth. And he said, oh, I wasn't trying to be offensive. I said, well, you were. That was very offensive. Well, I apologize. Okay, but again, it was person that was of another persuasion, these kind of things. They just feel like they can do that. Let me move on. Player hater, holding doors open. If it looks like they won't say thank you, I'll let the door close. Come on, player hater. No, go ahead and keep the door open. You'll receive a blessing for being courteous, being kind. You are a person that practices chivalry. Okay. Manners. When you visit someone's home, speak to everyone. At least give a general hey to everybody. That was another rule that we had. You walk into a room, you better speak. Courtesy costs nothing, I found. That's right. It doesn't cost you anything. Just a little bit of effort and kindness, and it'd be a blessing to the individual that you're showing courtesy to, and a blessing to yourself. Vera, thank you makes room for more. Absolutely. And not saying thank you will cut you off. How about that? Angela says, I'll say you're welcome for them when they're too rude to say thank you. Okay, that's my big sister, y'all. And she's right. She will do that. If you're too rude to say thank you, she'll say for you're welcome, as if to say, although you didn't say thank you, I'm going to remind you, or at least let you know you should have said thank you. And I'm going to say you're welcome. All right. Now, some of y'all, again, y'all are putting in these comments pretty fast. I had to back up, and I'm trying to get these significant comments. Vonda says, Bishop, you're right about Chick-fil-A. Absolutely. Chick-fil-A will have you not even mad when they make a mistake. I love them. Top tier training. That's right. Yeah. How can you get mad at a Chick-fil-A server? And when you tell them thank you, they say, my pleasure. Wow. Wow. Tisha says the feminist movement has gotten out of hand, in my opinion, and I agree with you. My cousin, a man, says it has to be taught by parents. That's right. That's absolutely right. It has to be taught by parents. And I can honestly say that I know he grew up in a family where that was taught. I know by his dad. Just so you all know that his dad and my mother are twins. His dad is my mother's twin brother, and they've got the same kind of disposition when it comes to doing right and acting right. Neither of them play when it comes to that kind of thing. We grew up in households where Minnie and James Calhoun, they did not play. They did not play, and so we were taught to show proper manners and to have proper etiquette. Let me say this real quickly. Some of you may have heard me say this. I've always seen it modeled, doing the right thing, having proper manners and all of that. But Angela is my big sister. Y'all hear me talk about that all the time. But when I got to the age where I started to date, she made sure that I was on point with my dating. And one of the reasons why she did is because oftentimes she would allow me to use her car to go out on date, but she would make sure that she would take me over the rules of dating before I would leave. You make sure that you got enough money to pay for everything, that you open doors, that you be courteous and kind, and all of that. And that was something that I practiced on a regular basis. So thank you, Angie, for helping me to have my game up when it came to the dating thing. Feminists, I saw a reel today. Girl said men shouldn't exist. Women can do it all. See, that's crazy right there. I believe women can do it all, but I need my... You go ahead, Tisha. She says you need her, man. Yeah, women can do it all, but come on. Why should they have to when they have a man that's willing to do certain things on their behalf so they can just look and be the beautiful vessels that God created women to be? How about that? How about that? How about that? Toya says, these extreme feminists will say weird stuff like, I don't need anything from a man, not even a thank you. I'm shaking my head too. My cousin is responding to me. He says, all is good. With 4 twin sisters, yes, 20 years, 20 years. He's talking about that upbringing. And also 20 years in the military, I believe, right? Am I saying that right, cousin? I think I'm right about that. All right. I got some crazy things going on with my screen here. All right, here we go. Chivalry. Mike doesn't let me touch any doors if he or the boys are around. Well, you go, Mike. That's a good thing. That's a man right there. James Calhoun, my cousin, says that's good practice. Player Hater says it is definitely upon men to continue to teach chivalry and courtesy. I'll even stop young men I don't know from walking inside before women and young girls. Wow. Wow. My cousin is starting to throw up a lot of comments here. Yes, indeed. He's referring to our upbringing with our parents. He said, yes, indeed, or correction was coming. If we was out of line, correction was coming. We had to always have respectful gestures. Men have to take the lead on this training thing. Absolutely. Thank you so much, cousin. All men here agreed. There's a constant sir or ma'am when I'm out in public. I love it. I love it. That's good. That's good manners. It's not just old fashioned, but it's good. It's showing respect. It's showing respect. And again, when I'm around older men, I'm not referring to no older man talking about what's up, dog. Hello, sir. How are you? Oh, no, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You know, you show great respect to especially the older generation. You know, we've lost that sense of respect altogether. Terry Kazam said, "This world is wild, though. Folks get mad if you call them sir or ma'am because they're them or they. Foolishness." Yeah, we're talking about you're talking about what they call it. My gosh, I can't think of it right now. Pronouns and all of that. They want to be identified by pronouns. I believe that's what they call it now. Okay. Um, uh, all right. Y'all are popping them in here. But again, I think that we're getting the message. I got one other issue that I want to bring up. You know, when it comes to all of this thing with regards to etiquette and good manners, we always talk about uh, customer service. But what about customer courtesy or etiquette? Because some customers can be abusive. Some customers don't exercise proper etiquette and manners when they're dealing with someone who's trying to give them good customer service. Some customers do some very unethical things. They complain to get out of paying, trying to get free things. Now, let me ask you this. Is every little thing worth escalating to the attention of top management? No, of course not. You know, sometimes we need to be understanding that the people that are serving us are just human and they could be having a bad day. They have mishaps and missteps and all of that. Some of the problems they're trying, well, most all the problems they're trying to resolve are not problems that they themselves created. So why take it out on them? The person that's really responsible for your problem is nowhere near that phone call or nowhere near that customer service booth. But yet and still, we become abusive toward the one that's trying to find a resolution to the problem. So I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but there are certain ways that customers should conduct themselves even when they've had an issue or a problem that they need to have resolved. Agree or disagree? And now I know I'm way behind with regards to all the comments that you all have thrown up, but y'all have been putting up a whole lot of comments. But I just took the conversation in another direction. I hope that you all are gleaning from the comments that you're making there, that you're able to read them between one another. And I wish I had time to read them all, but y'all popping them in here really, really too fast. My cousin, another man, said something here that's interesting. He said communication slowing been replaced by a texting generation. Yeah, we can hide behind our screens now. Oh, communication slowly been replaced by a texting generation. Thank you for that correction. Tisha, in my career, I'm required to ask clients what they identify as, preferred names and pronouns. Wow. Bless your heart. Bless your heart, because I'd have to be praying. I'd have to be praying the whole time in your profession, Toya. Yeah, I think I'm much too old school. I'd find a way to get around that. Have to ask them, now, what's your last name? And that's what I would refer to them as, their last name. And that's not to show any disrespect, you know. Okay. All right. Well, again, cousin, one of our viewers and also a minister of our congregation, she wants me to thank you for your military service. How about that? Man, that's etiquette. That's good manners right there. I like that. And I'm going to join her in telling you thank you. Thank you and Uncle Jimmy for y'all military service. Yeah, thank you so much. Kendra says, I teach my nephews to hold the doors for women. That's a good practice. Um, exactly, Hassan is the best in respect me. Okay, you might have to clear that one up for me. Y'all don't forget to use punctuation. It'll help me read your comment a lot better. I can't stand when people eat 98.9% of the meal and then complain and want it comp. That's what I'm talking about. I've seen a lot of people do that. I've actually seen couples that will order two different meals. They'll complain about the one after they've tasted or gotten as much of it off their plate as they want. Then they'll complain and say, I really don't like that. And they'll eat off the one plate, which they were intended to do the whole time. I've seen people do that kind of thing, and that's not good. And while I'm there, since we're talking about this thing of eating, how do y'all feel about people who don't tip? While y'all thinking about that, I'll read Terry Kazam's comment. I'm always patient with customer service. It's not their fault. I will remain cool and personable as long as they are. Very good. That's the way to handle it. That's the way to handle it. With regards to customer service, Tisha says, I worked it for a while, and yes, customers can be abusive. Because of my experience, I try to be nice when I call or chat with companies. That's important. James says, thanks, and he appreciates all of us who appreciates his military service. Thank you so much. That's my guy. Love you, man. Love you, cousin. God bless you. We appreciate you so much. But again, lastly, this is the last thing that I'm bringing up. Like I said, I just wonder about people who don't tip. I don't like people who are not tippers. Charles has an interesting statement here. He said customers are not expected to be professionals. They are to be served. Engaging in customer service, one should be the one who's a professional, no matter the situation. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting perspective. Yeah. I can see where you're coming from. I guess because I've served in customer service from the standpoint of not over the phone, but in-person customer service, where I had to go into people's homes and service them. And I've been treated very rudely. And the whole thing about the customer is always right. I've had some experiences that would say that's not always the case, because sometimes the customer is as wrong as they can be. Now, here's what I will say. Customers should always be treated right. Does that sound better? Customers should always be treated right, but they're not always necessarily right. And we know that they're not going to be held responsible for being professional. The customer, the one that's giving the customer service, is expected to be professional. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. And this brother here is talking from a professional perspective, and so I can't argue with him too much because I understand you're in relational marketing, and so I'm not going to put up a big argument there. I just put a little twist on it. So don't think that I'm disputing what you say. I just put a little spin on it, and some of my spin is based on my personal experience with dealing with customers, like I said, one-on-one, face-to-face, and some of them have been, just off the chain. Listen, let me tell you something. You don't think the customer's right when they got a 357 pointed at you. Oh, yeah, I've been there. Y'all think I'm kidding? Listen, I was about to do some telephone service, trying to repair and get some phone service back in the neighborhood, and I had a customer pull out a big 357 and pointed at me and said, "Where you think you going?" I said, "I just need to get up this pole back here." I said, "But since if you don't want me to," he was going to be right that day with that big old gun I was staring at. I said, "Hey," I said, "my phone at home works. I can put this ladder right back on the truck, and no, you can act like you've never seen me before." And as I turned around to walk back, he said, "Oh man, come on, young blood, come on through. I'm gonna let you on through." Now, in that respect, the brother was wrong. He was wrong for doing what he did, But I still treated him with respect. Of course, I'm going to. But I treated people with respect, whether I had that kind of situation staring me in the face or not. Terry Kazam says, "I always tip, even when the service isn't great. They may not get as much, but I will still tip. I'm of that same conviction." Angela says, "Yep, the customer is not always right." She's had to deal with some people in her time as well. We both have worked for Southwestern Bell telephone company when it was Southwestern Bell. It's AT&T now, but we both were employed by that company, and we both had encounters with customers. How about that? Toya said, "Tips, I believe in, but some people, again, feel entitled to it and provide terrible service and then want to tell you how much they should get." Now, for me, the server messes up, or the restaurant messes up when they set the tip for you. They said gratuity has already been added to your bill. You haven't asked me, you haven't given me a choice. You just added to my bill. Well, sometimes you cut yourself short when you do that, because Lady Ann and myself, we tend to tip above and beyond. And the reason why we do is because we know what conditions they're working under. A lot of these servers don't even make minimum wage. We were at a restaurant and the server was sharing with us. It was a restaurant we frequented, and the server was sharing with us that they only made $3 an hour as a basic salary. And this was just 2 years ago. $3 an hour. And then we found out also that if you include the tip on your ticket, like you're paying with a credit card, and you include the tip on your ticket, then that tip is split among the server, the hostess, and the cook. So by the time they get their little piece, it's little to nothing. And when I found that out, I started tipping with cash. And I didn't leave the tip on the table. I would have the server come to the table and put it in their hand. That's a practice that Lady Ann and myself picked up. We wanted to be a blessing to the server. And again, the service wasn't always great. We kind of did it as a testimony of who we are as believers in Christ Jesus. And again, we want to give people a little grace, understanding that they might not be having as good a day as they may want to be having. You don't know what could have happened prior to you getting to that restaurant and being seated in their area where they were assigned to serve. And so I try to give people a little grace. One of the things that I do, I will say something humorous or comical to the individual to see if I can kind of break that ice or change the atmosphere when it seems a little tense and tight. And if that doesn't work, I still try to be somewhat generous when I leave a tip. Okay, it becomes more about who I am than it is about what they've done. How about that? Okay. Kendra said, yes, even the receipts have the amount you should give for a tip. It used to be 10%. Now I think the lowest is 15%. It is what it is. It's the world we live in now. But I still try to tip Well, Joyce Lee says, will run the waiter back and forth and leave $2 on a $120 tab. And some people will. They will run the poor server. They will run their legs off. They will run their legs off. I think Angela's agreeing with Joyce. And that's not right. It's not fair. That server is not just your isolated personal servant. Okay. They're trying to service a lot of people at one time. And so sometimes we have to be a little patient. I mean, there have been times that I've waited so long for something that I'll grab a different server. I said, hey, listen, I've been waiting on this for a while. Could you see if you could grab this for me? And that's the way I handle that instead of getting upset and angry. I need to see the manager. I need to see the manager. You don't know what damage you might do by saying something to the manager. You may get that individual fired. And is that really the result you want to take place over a little or nothing? Let me read a few of more of these comments, and then we're going to get ready to shut it down for tonight. Customers shouldn't be abusive to the customer service employee. They can and may have the right to be mad, but being verbally abusive is not okay. Darlene says, I tip my server personally. Some tips are split among the other servers in the seated area when you add a tip to your receipt. That's exactly right. That's kind of what I was referring to a few minutes ago. Not only to the server, but to the host and to the cook as well. Customer service. I have happily hung up a ton of folk. Happily hung up on a ton of folk in the past. I let them know that I was disconnecting the call, but what they wasn't going to do is talk crazy to me. Oh, Lord. Okay. Well, you just keeping it real. It is what it is. It is what it is. Well, we could probably go on and on the rest of the night about our experiences, our negative experiences with customer service and all of that. You all have some interesting comments here. Like I said, I wish I could get to all of them. I got to hear this was one last customer from our expert. This one last comment from our expert. If you don't mind me calling you that, Brother Charles, it said it would be great to Google review customers. Now that would be funny. A Facebook fan page for notorious customers with mugshot. I'm glad. I'm really glad. I'm glad I showed that one. That's a good way to end. Now that is hilarious. I would love something like that. And I know that there are some people that would quickly be inducted into the Customer Hall of Shame if that were to be the case. Brother Charles, maybe you ought to create that Facebook page. Maybe you ought to come up with that. Create an app to be able to snap a picture and upload it to the Customer Hall of Shame app. Okay, I'm just throwing out all kinds. Now listen, Brother Charles, if you do that and you make a bunch of money, don't forget, hey, come on now. Don't forget where you got inspired. You got to break a brother off something. Okay. Oh my. Okay, y'all. I'm done. I better get off here because if I keep this going, we're going to be on here all night. Once again, it's been a joy. It's been a pleasure. Thank y'all so much for joining me here tonight. I've had a lot of fun. It's been interesting to be able to read and share your comments. That's what we do here on Mocha Moments. If you've enjoyed this time, if you've appreciated our time together, there are times we get a lot more serious, and there are some times where I just come on and share directly about some things that are on my heart and in my spirit that I want to just share with other people to be a blessing to them. But if you've appreciated, I just ask you to pass this along to someone else. Invite them to join us. If you would subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on your notifications, then you can be a part of this every time we come on. I'm looking forward to being on here with you on tomorrow evening, and I hope that you will certainly join us and invite someone else to join us as well. It's been a pleasure, but as I often say, when the time has been far spent, I want to bid you adieu by saying God bless and good night.